5 years ago, I was struggling. I was a freshman in college, and I was definitely overwhelmed by the stresses of starting college and the homework overload, studying for exams, working, and football. I was on a full football scholarship, so I had to maintain good grades in order to stay on the team. Then, to top it off, my grandpa passed away. I was extremely close to him, and he left me his fancy sports car. He knew how much I loved that car. He always took me for rides in it, and he said if I passed my driver's test on the first try, he would let me drive it. So I spent all my spare time studying that stupid DMV handbook and did all my driving hours and then some. And I passed, with only 3 points taken off. I went straight to his house after my test, showed him my exam and the instructor remarks, and he patted me on the back and said, "Well, son, a deal's a deal. Let's go. Here's the keys," tossing them to me with the biggest grin on his face. I still remember that drive. It was the most freeing, cool feeling. Grandpa said I didn't even have to bring him with, but I said, "Get in, old man, we're going for a ride." And we drove for hours, laughing, getting dinner, and later stopping off for ice cream. It's probably in the top 2 memories I have with him. When he passed away, I took it really hard. We knew it was inevitable. He had stage 4 colon cancer, but it didn't make it any easier. In his final days, during one of our conversations, he said, "Mark, rest assured, I'm going to haunt you. You will know I'm still here watching you." I just laughed and said, "Old man, I think those medications they're giving you are working quite well." My dad was named executor of Grandpa's estate, so all I had to do was pick the car up from him whenever I was ready. I went to get it one Saturday after midterms, figuring it was the perfect time to go for a joyride. After listening to a lecture from my dad about hot rodding in it, maintaining it, and all other parental warnings, I hit the open road. I was jamming out to my favorite road trip playlist, thinking back to that day when Grandpa let me drive the car the first time, when suddenly his favorite song came on. It wasn't in my road trip playlist, but there it was, Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, blasting at full volume. I did jump at first, because it was so loud. I quickly glanced at the phone. It was still showing that my road trip playlist was playing. I just shook my head and kept on driving, tapping my fingers to the beat on the steering wheel. I took it as a sign from the old man. About an hour down the road, I pulled into a gas station to use the restroom and get a snack and energy drink. But after I shut the ignition off and opened the door, the radio was still on. I was confused and a little annoyed because I really had to pee. I hit the power button, but nothing happened. I did it again 3 times, and still, an oldies country station kept on playing. Finally, I decided to let it play. I wasn't going to be in the gas station long enough to drain the battery. I came back to the car, energy drink and gas station sandwich in hand, but the station was still playing. I could hear it playing through the door as I unlocked it. Right as I sat down and reached towards the power button to try again, it suddenly went quiet. "This car has clearly been sitting for too long," I said out loud, shaking my head. Of course, at the time, I didn't want to think anything besides a short in the wires could be happening, so I made a mental note to take it in for a tune-up sometime that week. I was back on the road for maybe 5 minutes when I heard something start banging around in the trunk area. Not wanting to risk breaking down, I pulled back over. It hadn't made that noise the entire time until now. Getting out, I headed towards the back of the car and inspected the tires and around them, just to be sure. I made sure the lug nuts weren't loose. Everything seemed fine, so I started to head back to take off, when the noise happened again. It was clearly coming from the trunk. The trunk was empty when I threw my stuff in from the other car earlier. Completely empty, I thought to myself. But when I opened it, I was surprised to see Grandpa's metal baseball bat, the one him and I used to use when we went to the park. I knew the trunk was totally empty earlier, though. I had checked just to see if anything was left of his. Relieved there was nothing wrong, I hopped back in and took off. Everything went fine until about 10 minutes from home. I decided to stop into Walmart as soon as I got into town, figuring it didn't matter which one I went to. They were both the same. I had a short list of things I needed for my apartment, including milk and eggs. I found a spot and parked, reaching for the handle to open the door. The lock's engaged. I hit the unlock button and was about to pull the handle open when they engaged again. This repeated about 4 more times before I got frustrated and gave up trying for a few minutes. Then I had a flashback to a memory that I hadn't thought of in years, and I bust out laughing like I always did when I thought of it. I was all of 10 years old, out for a day at the batting cages and pizza shop with Grandpa. He was cracking jokes and I was laughing so hard that day. We stopped at the gas station to get tobacco for his pipe, and I smirked to myself, deciding to prank him. Every time he tried to get out, I hit the lock button. This went on for about a full minute, and he got worked up thinking something was wrong with the car. When he busted me, he saw my hand moving away from the lock button and reached over to give me a knuckle sandwich and say, "Just remember, son, revenge is sweet," as he laughed and hopped out of the car. I quickly thought to myself, the locks, the Johnny Cash tune, the radio being stuck on an old country station. What if... It couldn't be. Ghosts aren't real, I said out loud, shaking my head. But I couldn't shake it off. I felt weird doing it, but I said out loud, "Grandpa, is that you?" I waited a few seconds, mostly expecting nothing to happen. Just as I had given up and told myself it was crazy to even entertain the idea, the locks engaged and disengaged twice, and then stopped altogether. There was my answer. I still own the car, and over the years, he's shown me signs every once in a while, usually when I'm going through something. I love these types of paranormal stories. The paranormal doesn't always have to be scary. It can be peaceful and even comforting. Thank you for sharing your story. If you've been a listener on this channel since the beginning, you know that I've had encounters with my grandparents from beyond too, and it's comforting each time. If you have a paranormal story to share, email it to the address in the description below. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. And with that, see you tomorrow, friends.